Good day. I'm Mike James, and this is Parkitect. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're having a great day. Got a show for you today I really think you're going to enjoy. We've been working on a couple different buildings, and I've been giving you some updates on Parkitect and what's going on in the development. There's been a couple updates in the past 2 weeks. The big one came last week, and that is the move to the new Unity platform. They're moving to Unity 5.4 sometime in the not too distant future. What this means for you as a player is hopefully some good performance updates. Right now, Parkitect is very heavily CPU bound. You do need a decent graphics card, and I can tell you, upgrading my graphics card certainly helped. However, we are still bound by the CPU, and with the new Unity update, it's going to allow the handling of multiple objects a lot better and move a lot of the processing from the CPU to the GPU, which is just going to be naturally more efficient. Plus, it's what we have room to work with right now. Right now, my game is limited primarily to my CPU, which is a Core i7 something, 4 gigahertz. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I'm really looking forward to this. One of the things is when you're making parks, you're using the same objects over and over and over again to make buildings. That's just the way the game works. And Unity doesn't handle that so well right now, but the upgrade to 5.4, it's finally become stable enough where they think they're going to be able to move to the 5.4 Unity, and it handles multiple instances of the same objects a lot better. Think about it. Peeps, building walls, paths, all those things are rendered hundreds, if not thousands of times the same thing. This will really help out, especially moving it over to the GPU, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's also going to have a couple updates on selecting building pieces, and the most important update from a quality of life standpoint, aside from the improvement in performance, is they're going to be adding a delete all or delete selection box. Kind of like how you select things for blueprints, we're adding a delete selection so that one of the big frustrations, I'm sure if you use blueprints at all, you've experienced this, is that if you pick a really neat building for a blueprint and you misplop it, either maybe you didn't lower it down to ground level or you're one square off, you had to sit there and delete hundreds and hundreds of building pieces one at a time. I mean, you can click and drag your mouse around for everything that's in the same category, but it still took like 3-4 minutes to delete a complex building. Now you'll just be able to delete it with just a couple mouse clicks. That's going to be great. We have a spectacular show for you today. I'm going to show you how to build a pizza parlor. Well, maybe just a pizza by the slice place. I noticed that Parkitect doesn't really have a pizza shop right now, so we're going to use some other shops, build some stuff around it, and make it look great. Hang on tight. We're coming right at you. Throw down a couple paths here just to get started, just to have a base to build from. And because we're going to make a pizza parlor, I'm going to have to select a couple shops that are going to stand in for a pizza parlor. I used a Chinese shop, a Chinese food stall, a hot dog stall, and just a drink stall. Yeah, have to have some drinks. Really hope we get a pizza slice in there, because you know how you can see people holding the hot dogs and hamburgers and the drinks? Really looking forward to maybe being able to have them walk around with a slice of pizza. That will be great. So first thing, we're going to just put in a little fascia in front of the buildings. I start out here trying to cover up the front of the building so you don't see the hot dog, you don't see the drinks, and just kind of make it go away. I started by using some things out of the building set 1, just the floor tiles, and then putting some fascia in front of that. That works sometimes. I've done that in a couple places, especially when I did my my root beer stall, which I just used like a coffee shop, and just covered up the coffee stuff and put some barrels on top of it, made it look like root beer, a root beer stall, and I thought that looked pretty good. In this case, you'll see when I'm putting these walls down, it looks okay, but it's not perfect. I wasn't 100% happy with it. One of the things that you'll find as you start to design your buildings is you'll very often just start something and then decide, no, maybe I want something else. Now here, I was thinking about doing the trick I've done before, where I take the two-sided walls and I reverse them as I go along, so you can just pick two colors, foreground and background, and just paint directly across them and very quickly change the color of a building. That way maybe I could reuse this building as some other style. And as always, when you're using these two-sided pieces, it's important that when you get to a corner, that both the corner pieces face the same direction, so you don't get that Z buffer fighting. In the end, I ended up not being able to use that because I needed 3 colors to make my Italian theme. But hey, try, live, and learn. Experimenting is how you're going to get better at making your buildings. Here I'm trying to decide how I want the roof to look. And I tried a couple of these peak roofs. I was trying to see something that was going to look a little less generic. I ended up deciding to go with these rounded roofs. I use them a lot on my stations, but I wanted something in the front here. I wanted to be able to see the curve in the front when you're facing the building, and I think that looks pretty good. And what I ended up doing, so it doesn't stick out on the right and the left, is I ended up holding Alt F8, reducing the step size so that I could more finely tune the building, and then I just had one in the middle and then just have it come out just a little bit, not all the way to the end as you see here, and then I just put the end caps on, and that looks great. That's exactly the look I was going for. So now I'm deciding how I want. I did that just so I could see where I'd forgotten which pieces I used, and I looked at it and I said, that's only 2 and I need 3 colors. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to have the colors go up and down in the front. And so I bring out the edge of the building a little bit just to make it cover up the shops internally a little better. And then I'm going to have these little squares here. And this gives me, these small quarter pieces give me a lot more of an option. And I finally figured out, hey, you know what? Let's just flip it and then move it. And then flip it again and move it. It's easier than flipping it every move because it offsets where the piece is every time you flip it. I didn't end up using this, as I said before, and I'll be honest, when you look at this, that is just a little too low. It is just a little too low. In the end, when I use it in my park, I am deleting that bottom row, so it just has 1 row of those quarter high pieces. The effect is exactly the same. Putting a little edge fascia along the building, and you notice I have this Z buffering here because there's no way to get around it the way I have placed those square checkerboard patterns. I'll fix that in a minute. Now I'm just filling the corners inside the different shops, so it looks like one big shop instead of a bunch of little ones. I tried here to maybe try to cover up that fascia part, and I could have done a little better, but I decided, that's fine. We can have a little bit of a difference in the fascia. I don't mind. Putting down those offset tables and chairs, put down some trash cans and a couple benches. Just trying to get an overall feel for how this is going to work. I didn't want to go crazy on the theming on this building as far as the chairs and outside the building, but I ended up going a little farther than I intended. And so here what I'm doing is I'm deciding to just see what it looks like in red and green. Welcome to the Christmas building. Yeah, that doesn't look too good. But what I end up doing here, is I decide that maybe white needs to be every other color, and then we can do the red and the green as and I did need to choose a better green. And we can make the red and the green like an Italian flag, I guess. And what I ended up doing was just alternating, and not doing every other square as white. It just looked better that way. Here I'm doing the red, and I'm changing the red. The red needed to be a little less pink. I don't like that pinky red the game defaults to. And then I'm counting and trying to put my white in where it needs to be, and I realize, let's just start all over, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I do green, count over 3, do green, count over 3, do green, count over 3, and then I can go ahead and I can put down the red next to the green and leave the white. And I think that looks pretty good. It gives the impression that I was looking for. Now you notice that Z buffering in the corner I was talking about. We'll fix that in a minute. I decided to color the roofs red, and I played around with the idea of having it be green, white, and red. It honestly didn't look right. I would have had to make the actual tops of the roofs a different color than red to make that work. And yeah, because that looks like poop. So I decided, let's just leave it white. That's fine. White and red is fine. Don't care about the back of the building being all red. And you'll see me change the colors of these tables a couple different times as I try to decide what I want and what's going to look good. So we are going to have to do a little more on this theming. It looks good right now, and what we're doing here is we're just, I'm picking the color from the existing things and just putting it inside those pieces I put in between the buildings, just to kind of tie it all in. I think that looks nice. What I'm doing here is I am looking for a piece to put on those corners, and I found this piece right in building set number 3, and just put that post there, colored it the same as the wall, and just said, that looks good. It gets rid of the Z buffer fighting, and that flashy color when you have two colors meeting each other. And I really like this. Now, I did want a little more. So I decided to use that one really cool tile that's hiding in building set number 2. And honestly, it looks good in brown, but I'm going to play around with it for a minute with the colors, and you'll see I go through a couple different variations on the colors. First, I wanted to make it a lighter, kind of make it a piazza, and it just didn't look right. Then I darkened it up a little bit, still wasn't happy with it. I really wish we had more different covers like this one. If we had 10 or 20 of these, it'd be spectacular. And I know they're not that hard to make, so I know one of the modders is going to do that eventually. I wish they'd do it now. You know how it is. Now you'll notice the tiles in front of the buildings, the ones the buildings are sitting in. I left them the brown. I decided we're going to have that just be a little offset to stand out the buildings. If you want to color yours, that's absolutely fine. And this off green, I think it looks okay. It's not perfect, but it looks decent. So now let's think about doing a little signage on here. So we'll get our sign on there, and then we'll go ahead and put pizza. That looks great, doesn't it? I'm going to do a after literally dozens and dozens of you. This is my most requested thing, and I've put it off and resisted for long enough. I'm going to do a very brief tutorial on how to make pictures for your billboards, and it's not a Photoshop tutorial. I do use Photoshop, but if you don't know how to use Photoshop, you're gonna have to learn. There's plenty of things online that'll show you. I'll show you what tools I use in Photoshop and how I do it, but I can't give you a description in detail of what all the tools do and how to use Photoshop and layers and things like that. You're gonna have to do that yourself. I am really good at Photoshop, but I'm not going to do a series on Photoshop. It just doesn't interest me. Now here, I was trying to decide how to make a little shade area outside. And I was playing with different ideas, and because of the length of these banners, I really wanted to use these banners. I decided what we'll do is we use the short banners. And you notice I'm getting these posts and the banners out of the dining set. And then I use these big long strips here, but making them lengthwise didn't work. Making them the short ones lengthwise worked a lot better. And we'll just put some cross members in here. And you notice I originally put them up at 4, but if you lower them down to 3.95, they actually match up with the vertical centers very well. Tried a couple different things as far as coloring. these shade areas and a little cloth hanging down over your head. Thought, well, let's kind of carry the theme, the Italian colored theme, and make them, you know, red and white, green and white, and it was okay, but I wasn't thrilled with it. So in the end, what I end up doing is just making one of them all red, one of them all white, and one of them all green. Now, coloring these banners, because there's 4 per banner, but there's only 3 colors, I had to actually make multiple copies. One that went green, white, red, green, and then one that went white, red, green, white, and then another one that went I think red, white, green, white, or I forget, but I had to make multiple so that I know you probably wouldn't notice if I didn't. Most people wouldn't notice anyway, but I would notice. I would know. And so when you go around, you notice the colors never touch each other and they go in perfect synchrony all the way around. And I really, I wanted to lighten these up a little bit, but I really like the way those little hanging banners ended up looking. I think that really just finishes it off perfectly. Having those colors, it looks just like what you would anticipate an Italian-themed building looking like. Tell me what you think. Leave me a comment down below if you like it. If you have any comments or suggestions or questions, don't forget to subscribe. We do appreciate each and every one of you subscribing to the show. You notice here I'm playing with the flowers. I ended up just coloring these flowers green just to make it look like foliage, and I wanted to find a green that wasn't too jarring, and just make it look like there's like little bushes there or something. I think this looks great. Tell me what you think. Leave me that comment. Hit that subscribe button. And until next time, I hope each and every one of you has a good one.